All right, everybody. Get started. Got a runaway banner. All right, so I think we're just gonna start with some chants. Let's just start with good old-fashioned from the river to the sea.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
All right, I'm from the river to the sea. You guys are, your part. So from the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
All right, and then we got another one for the Uncommitted campaign. We have, hell no, we won't go. We won't vote for Genocide Joe. Hell no.
We won't vote for Genocide Joe.
Hell no. We won't go. We won't vote for Genocide Joe. Hell no. We won't go. We won't vote for Genocide Joe. All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for showing up. My name is Jordan. I'm the secretary of the Rhode Island DSA. I wanted to start today by thanking the co-sponsors of our event. We have CPUSA and the Poor People's Campaign, as well as the immense help from many of the activists in the Jewish and Muslim communities. Also, I wanted to give a huge shout out to PSL for co-sponsoring this event, even though we double booked today, but their event is going to be today at Prospect Park at 5 p.m., which after we have a chance for all of our speakers to go or talk, we're going to march over there. All right. So, before I bring up any of the speakers today, I just want to talk about why we are here today. I want to talk about the Vote Uncommitted campaign. The reason we're all here is because we are tired of the Democratic Party. We are tired of having to choose between the lesser of two evils, and looking at the situation in Gaza, it's hard to say it's even lesser at this point. The people of this country have been screaming for months now for a ceasefire in Gaza, and Biden refuses to listen. It's time that we speak to them in the only language that they seem to care about, and that's with our votes. Growing from New Hampshire and then gathering the support of over 100,000 people in Michigan, the message is clear. We won't be strong-armed by the use of the boogeyman that is Donald Trump into voting for Biden again. The people are clear in that we want a candidate that will actually represent us. I urge everyone here to really start to think about our relationship with the Democratic Party and if we want to allow this to keep happening. If you ask me, I know for a fact that we need a real third option. I believe that we are ready to have a breakup with the Democratic Party. And we want to have a party that is beholden to the people and not the other way around. All right, so now I want to introduce our first speakers. We have Caroline and Bella. They are currently being prosecuted by the city of Providence at the behest of Brown University for standing up for their right to protest for the rights of Palestinians in Gaza. So, thank you guys.
All right, hi. Thank you for inviting us to speak today. We are two students from Brown University, and we, along with 39 of our peers, were arrested in December for occupying University Hall as members of the Brown Divest Coalition.
We chose to occupy University Hall because we could not stand the fact that our university remained complicit and invested in genocide. All we demanded was that the university's president bring a report from 2019 to Brown's main governing body and hold a vote on the report's recommendations. The report, which was written by one of the university's main advisory committees and still maintains the support of the vast majority of Brown's student body, recommended that Brown divest its financial holdings from all companies facilitating the Israeli occupation of Palestine.
Rather than simply hold this vote, the bare minimum degree of follow-through on its purported accountability mechanisms, Brown chose to arrest all 41 of us.
Shame!
This wasn't the first time Brown made this decision, demonstrating its extreme repression of peaceful protests for Palestine. The university arrested 20 of our Jewish peers for a nearly identical sit-in in November. Shame. But Brown did things a little differently this second time. The university administration instructed a combined force of Brown and Providence police to arrest, book, photograph, and fingerprint us one by one within the walls of University Hall, out of sight of the hundreds of supporters gathered outside. then releasing us at random from one of the 3 doors to try to keep us from each other. But no matter how hard they try, we will not be discouraged.
Brown has continued to push charges against us and has admitted that they will continue to escalate punishments against student protesters in order to silence dissent. But their attempts to silence us have been unsuccessful, and they will continue to be unsuccessful until Palestine is free. Those people up there in their ivory towers will always try to prevent the rest of us from banding together and fighting for what's right because they're scared of the people's power. But time and time again, they have failed because the power of the people is stronger than their fear, it's stronger than their money, and it ain't going away.
As they continue to act out of fear and greed, we will continue to act out of love and solidarity. We are so inspired by all of you who have kept coming out week after week, day after day to demand justice.
So let us continue to inspire each other every hour of every day. Let us vote uncommitted on April 2nd to show them that we are united. And let us keep pushing until the genocide is stopped, the occupation ends, and Palestine is free for all of its people, from the river to the sea. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. And now for our second speaker, we have Danny, a Providence resident Palestinian who grew up in exile in Lebanon. Danny?
Good afternoon, Ramadan Mubarak, and happy Easter to those who celebrate. My name is Danny Khaif, a first-generation Palestinian Lebanese immigrant here in Rhode Island. I'm here today to talk a little bit about my family's story and why it's so crucial to vote uncommitted. My grandparents, like many Palestinians, in 1948 were forcibly removed from their homes during what became known as the Nakba, or the catastrophe, where hundreds of Palestinian villages were destroyed, thousands killed, 750,000 forcibly removed from their lands. It is a typical story shared by many Palestinians in the diaspora. However, my family's story is a little unique, not just because they were Christian Palestinian, but because my great-grandmother was Jewish. The story of her and her husband was a forbidden love. Her, a young Jewish immigrant from Belarus, whose family were one of the first Zionists to move to occupied Palestine, escaping anti-Semitism in Europe. Her husband was a Muslim, and for their families, the love was so forbidden that they were disowned. They moved to Jerusalem and found a new life together. Marrying into the Catholic Church, they decided to make a new life for themselves in a city that would be welcoming and open and accepting of them, or so they thought. While they were trying to make their new life, her brother was busy gaining power in some Zionist extremist circles, hard at work laying the foundation for what would be the future state of Israel. He became active in recruitment for different militia groups like the Ingram, what would be later labeled as terrorist organizations by the United States. His hatred of Arabs grew, and he would become one of the members to plan and carry out one of the worst terrorist attacks of the 20th century, the bombing of the St. David Hotel in Jerusalem, 1946. 91 people of different nationalities were killed, and it became the catalyst of the British withdrawal from the area and the creation of the State of Israel. What ideology of hate and superiority would compel someone to commit such atrocities? There are only victims in this cycle of violence, and this action would start a chain wave of instability and bombings throughout the Middle East, with right-wing extremism using religion as a tool of division. My great-grandmother chose to reject hatred for love, and even though she was born Jewish, she herself was a direct victim of the Zionist expansion. My family was displaced for generations after, moving from place to place in search of safety, only to find more violence and instability caused by Western imperialism. In a fight to combat rising populist, socialist, and secular movements in the Arab world, the United States and Israel chose instead to support and embolden right-wing extremist groups, sabotaging any chance for a peace process. My family was displaced in 1980 during the Israeli occupation of Lebanon. My mother, pregnant with me, displaced in 1991, forced out of Kuwait during the Iraqi occupation. Displaced again in 2003 with the failed US occupation of Iraq. And as a child in Beirut during the 2006 war, I witnessed Israel deliberately targeting civilian infrastructure. I was stuck without my parents and witnessed devastation of seaports, airports, bridges, power station, residential areas. The strategy would later be coined as the Dahiya Doctrine, a deliberate destruction of civilian infrastructure to pressure a hostile regime. At the time, they were targeting Hezbollah. Corrupt, and with those 20 years since, Hezbollah and other corrupt forces have only gained power, showing how futile this strategy is. The strategy of overthrowing a regime through punishing a civilian population has never historically worked and will only foster more hostility and continue this cycle of violence. We should instead be working towards lasting peace by distancing ourselves from aristocratic regimes that are undermining safety for both Israelis and Palestinians. In 2022, after doing genetic backgrounds, my family was able to connect with long-lost relatives in Israel, generations after the terrible events of 1940. We were delighted to see the younger generation, our distant cousins, marching against Netanyahu's regime during protests in Israel, donning the kufiyyah in solidarity. It is unfortunate that I have family that is taught from a young age to hate their neighbor, that are indoctrinated into hate, sent into forced military service. They themselves are also the victims of Zionism. When the events of October 7th happened, my family reached out to their newly found relatives in Israel. Unlike how the media portrays it, my family, like most Palestinians, only want peace and understand firsthand the terrible consequence of violence. So as we sit here and think about what Biden's done, destabilizing the region and sabotaging a peace process, the least we can do is cast a vote for ceasefire and a vote for uncommitted to show Biden what we can.
All right, can we get one more round of applause for all of our speakers so far? All right, so before we continue on, I have one ask of you guys for right now. So over on the tables over there, and I'm sure that they're being passed around, we have some QR codes with a petition to sign. If everyone here could please sign that petition, as well as go to Rhode Island's Twitter account, as well as their Instagram account, and repost this petition. We need to circulate this. April 2nd is coming fast, and we want to get as many people on board for this as possible. So we have stuff over there, refreshments over there. As you go over and grab them, QR codes are being passed around.
Use the PR code to sign the petition.
With that?
Use the QR code to sign the pledge, and then share it on social media.
Yeah.
Okay, just say it again.
Yep. So I'm just going to say this again. We have the QR codes to sign the petition, the pledge, as well as if you guys could please share this petition around on social media.
The pledge to vote uncommitted, right?
Yes, the pledge to vote uncommitted.
I'm getting tired. We need someone.
And now for our next speaker, we have Dania with the DSA. She's the one who invoked uncommitted en masse, and she's also a Providence resident.
All right, everyone. So I'm just gonna repeat that message, which is we want to use a little bit of our time as we're gathered here today to do some outreach to get those who aren't with us to remember to go to the polls and vote uncommitted on the Democratic ballot. right? With the message being, we say no to genocide. We say no to Joe Biden and the Democratic leadership's commitment to sending bombs, sending money, running diplomatic cover for a slaughter of civilians. So pledge to vote. If you haven't voted already, vote Uncommitted on Tuesday and start sharing on social media and reaching out to your contacts to try to get them to the polls. All right, my name is Danielita. I am speaking to you today as a member of DSA and an organizer on this Vote Uncommitted Rhode Island campaign. I am so glad to see you all out here today. I think, are we ready for Rhode Island to do what it usually does, which is punches way above its weight? Yes! We are already doing that. Rhode Island has been making more daily calls to our elected officials in Washington than any other state through the Rhode Island Calls for Palestine. Yeah, pretty awesome. 1,200 calls a day they've been making. Providence was the first municipality in the nation, I believe, to pass a ceasefire resolution. So let's make a big push today, tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday to keep the Rhode Island pressure on and to build on that movement nationwide.
All right.
All right, so we've got some other special things about Rhode Island. Our Democratic leadership, including our own Senator Jack Reed right here, who is chair of the Armed Services Committee. Right up to the north of us, Catherine Clark, in one of the most important positions in Democratic leadership. What do they keep telling us? What have they told me personally when I've talked to them? Well, we're afraid of Trump, right? Trump will destroy democracy. And what can we possibly do to help? This isn't our war. This is Israel's war. Not their war. Who's sending the weapons?
Absolutely.
Repeatedly throughout these long months. Actively resupplying weapons to an over-resourced first-class military, fighting a people without an army, without a plane, without a single tank. Who is rushing extra billions of dollars on top of the $4 billion we already send every year?
Shame.
All the while to a state that provides universal health care for its workers?
Shame.
Who just voted last week to cut funding to a UN agency, the only organization capable of securing and distributing vital humanitarian relief and assistance to starving Gazans? That was our Senate, right? Our Congress. Do we believe them that this isn't their war?
No!
If you fund the war, if you supply the weapons, if you sit on the war cabinet, on the war cabinet meetings over in Israel, if you cut the humanitarian aid, if you block any international resolution for a ceasefire, you better believe it's your war. That's our politicians, though, always powerless to constrain their own war on working people, whether here or abroad.
Right.
As many of you know, it's Ramadan right now. That means that I, along with many of the people standing here with us today, and of course over 1 billion people worldwide are fasting. No food or water of any kind until sunset for 30 days. And we're in the last stretch right now, the final third, the last 10 days. In Islamic belief, the last 10 days are supposed to be the most blessed, where you fast and whatever good you do in the world has even greater value than it ordinarily would and than it did for the previous 20 days before. That's because there's a cumulative effect to providing the body of sustenance. Day after day, week after week, it gets harder. Without redoubling one's effort and commitment, it may be difficult to make it through the whole 30 days. And it will certainly be difficult to make it through those 30 with the spiritual focus, resolve, and grace that one attempts to complete the month with. Organizing this campaign, as with all organizing work that all of you know, entails a lot of extra hours on top of work, on top of ordinary life commitments, staying up late to canvass or for organizing calls, getting up early to prepare communications before work. All of it has been harder than usual for me, I'll say. I notice how hard it is to go without food and water while also lacking sleep, no caffeine. I notice how much my body is attempting to conserve energy. There's little left over for emotional expression or even for tuning in and noticing or feeling them. Part of the point of the Muslim fast in Ramadan is solidaristic. It is to place central to each community member the vital importance of sufficient food and drink. To feel, even for a few moments, a mere fraction of days, the desperation of hunger. Muslims believe that their fast won't be accepted if they complete those days, complete that month, without providing meals to someone in need or funding for meals for someone in need. And if for any reason you can't fast, the way that you make up your fast is by providing meals for others, multiple others who are in need for every day that you miss. The idea is to connect with our fellow man and not just understand where they might come from, but reach out in aid and support. It's the linchpin for solidarity, and today we think about the Gazans who are, many might be fasting, but whether or not they are trying to fast, they are in dire need of food, of clean water, of the most simple and basic needs. The US government and our political class stands in solidarity, not with the hungry people of the world, not with the men, women, and children of Gaza who lack any access to clean water or basic food, but rather the US political class stands in solidarity with a mass, deliberate starvation campaign. Just this week, they deepened and strengthened this solidarity. Biden's State Department said that it did a review and affirmed that destroying every hospital in Gaza, destroying every university, bombing K through 12 schools, blocking any aid from being delivered so that people are crushed by aid dropping from the sky and shot as they try to obtain aid dropped offshore into the water, that those are all compliant with international law and US law. Their solidarity to the political class at home and abroad in all its brutality should make clear to us, perhaps as never before, that they do not stand with us. They keep demanding that we be loyal to them, or else Trump, or else the end of democracy. They try to threaten us by parading out the worst of their kind. I say, don't threaten me any longer. I won't plead and beg from the likes of them.
Right on.
They are bearing the heaviest price. Gazans today are helping make clear to all the world. Our governments don't represent us. They don't care about the interests of working people. Just as they are willing to starve the people of Gaza for their own ends, so too do they close our schools, bankrupt our healthcare system, and watch as our bridges and infrastructure crumble around us, all while making cuts to social spending and sending billions for bombs abroad. It's time we send them a message. We will not support you as you send billions abroad for bombs. Transfer our money out of working people's pockets into the coffers of Boeing and Lockheed and others of their ilk, all as our life expectancy falls and our standard of living erodes. We vote uncommitted in Rhode Island on Tuesday for a ceasefire. We vote uncommitted in Rhode Island on Tuesday for Gaza. We vote uncommitted in Rhode Island to say no to Genocide Joe. And we vote uncommitted on Tuesday to start recognizing that neither of these ruling class parties supports working Americans, and it is time we come together as working people to start building an alternative to the two-party system.
Right on.
Next, I want to invite Tim from the Rhode Island AntiWar Committee to come up and speak.
All right, Tim.
Thanks, everybody. I just want to make a quick announcement. With the Rhode Island Anti-War Committee, my name is Tim Sproles. We meet every Tuesday and Friday at 4 p.m. right down at the end of this walkway on the brick paved patio to demonstrate support for the Palestinians and against war, U.S.-backed wars. We demand an end to U.S. military aid to Israel. We demand a permanent ceasefire. And it's important, we believe it's important to make a public demonstration of our views, and along with everything else that people do, writing letters and speaking to the representatives is all good, but this way we get the public to see exactly every week that there's people that oppose U.S. policy and stand with the Palestinian people. So please consider joining us. That's 4 o'clock every Tuesday and Friday. Thank you.
Thank you.
For our next speaker, we have Jackie G, an activist from the Rhode Island Jewish community and a public health researcher.
Okay. Right on.
We are here today to make our voices clear. Enough is enough! We are here to say as loud as we can with one voice, enough is enough!
Enough is enough.
So loud that Joe Biden can no longer afford to ignore us. Enough is enough!
Enough is enough.
Enough weapons deals with the Israeli military. Enough!
Enough.
Enough supporting a fascist ethno-state. Enough!
Enough.
Enough funding and enabling genocide in Gaza. Enough!
Enough.
I am here today as an American Jew to say that we cannot let the violence in Palestine, violence that our government supports, continue. We cannot let these systems of power go unchecked. We cannot continue to give money and weapons to a genocidal regime when people right here in our state are unhoused, underemployed, in medical debt, and unable to afford enough food for their families. Enough is enough!
Enough is enough.
I'm sure people ask you, because they also ask me, why are you so outspoken about Gaza? Why? When there are genocides happening in Sudan and Congo, when the world is facing dozens of humanitarian crises, and it's true, the global indifference to the horrors happening in Sudan and Congo and elsewhere is deadly. It is true that we are all implicated in this indifference, and we are called to do more to stop these catastrophes. But it's also true that what the U.S. is doing in Gaza is much more than the cruelty of indifference. The United States is actively producing weapons for slaughter. Again, I say enough!
Enough.
Joe Biden is actively enabling and funding the conditions that are killing Palestinians en masse. Enough!
Enough.
We are letting the Israeli government get away with the biggest land grab in the West Bank since 1993. Enough!
Enough.
While the people of Gaza have cried out, while you have cried out with them, Joe Biden has paid lip service to our grief. We've talked to him obsessive of justice, but not in a language that he speaks. This week, we have a chance to speak to Joe Biden in a language that he understands. Power. When you vote uncommitted, you are reminding Joe Biden that he has no power without us. We are a growing movement. Our collective voices are gaining in numbers and in strength, and if he continues to ignore our calls for justice, he will do so at his own peril.
Right on.
October 2nd is your opportunity to make a promise. Joe Biden cannot ignore us. This April 2nd, you will take action that has direct impact on our system. And we will continue to take bolder and bolder actions that will hit these systems where they hurt. We know that those of us here are not the only ones who are engaging in genocide in Gaza. We are not the ones here who are engaging in genocide in Gaza. Our hands are not the ones dropping bombs on hospitals. Our fingers are not the ones pulling the trigger to fire bullets at starving people trying to get flour. But as an American, I know that this violence is being carried out on my dime. And as a Jewish person, I know that this violence is being carried out in my name. I feel, as you do, a moral and spiritual obligation to make sure that this ends. We are here to demand tzedek, to demand justice, and we will not stop until the bombs stop. We will not stop until Palestinians are able to live freely and peacefully on their land from the river to the sea. And we have much to do to make Palestinian safety a reality. We live in a death cult where the wealthy, the elite,
those in power would rather make another millions of dollars than demonstrate their so-called democratic values. Enough! We live in a dystopia where politicians use doublespeak to placate us about taking actions on the suffering of Gaza and quietly send billions of pounds of bombs being used to mass murder Palestinians. Enough! We live in a hellscape where Joe Biden will silently end sanctions placed on a total of 4 settlers that threaten the peace, security, and stability of the West Bank and hope none of us will notice while he walks back yet another empty promise. Enough! Make no mistake, we are facing a Goliath. It is a Goliath of money and capital, held up by weapons manufacturers and the politicians that they have in their pockets. But as long as we keep slinging stones, one of them, one day, will be the stone that finally topples Goliath. I believe that we will win. I believe that we, who stand on the side of justice, are powerful. I believe that our actions will have material and political consequences that force our politicians to do the right thing. I believe that we will see a free Palestine in my lifetime. Free! Free Palestine!
Free! Free Palestine!
Free! Free Palestine!
Free! Free Palestine!
Thank you.
Thank you!
All right, can we get another round of applause for all the speakers who just went thus far? All right, so now we're going to take another short break, and I'm going to ask you guys of something once again. I would like everybody to take out their phones right now, and I hope that through all the speakers thus far, you understand the importance of this and the power that is going to come along with voting uncommitted. So, everyone, if we could take our phones out. All right, so I hope that everyone has had a chance to see the QR code, or if not, please find one closest to you. What I would like from everyone here is to take that link and send it to 5 people that you know. It's a small ask, or it could be a big ask depending on the person. What am I trying to say? Sorry about that. Yes, send the link to 5 people, because you can see the importance of this and how our vote and our voice matters. So I'm going to give everyone a little bit of time to do that. Remember, April 2nd is the day. All right, thank you to everyone who took part in this. I appreciate that. All right, from the river, to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
From the river, to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Palestine will be free.
All right. This crowd is a little quiet today. I know everyone's voices are louder than that. Because you showed up here, that means your voice is loud and it matters. So I want to hear it one more time. From the river, to the sea, Palestine, will be free.
Will be free.
Thank you, everyone. All right, and we got the other one. Hell no.
Hell no.
We won't go.
We won't go.
We won't vote for Genocide Joe.
We won't vote for Genocide Joe.
Hell no.
Hell no.
We won't go.
We won't go.
We will vote for Genocide Joe.
We won't vote for Genocide Joe.
All right, so for our next speaker, we have Hamna, a Rhode Island resident and a healthcare worker and an activist for Palestine. Give it up for Hamna.
Hello, everyone. Hello. My name is Hamna. I'm a physician assistant here in Rhode Island. I'll be honest, I hesitated to come here today with my name being revealed, my profession being revealed, and my face unmasked. Do you want to know why? Because many of my colleagues have been fired from their jobs for criticizing a foreign government on their private social media platforms. People who are compassionate look at a genocide unfolding, express criticisms for it, and there is literally a witch hunt, a campaign that takes our photos from our social media websites and puts it next to our pro-Palestine post, submits it to our HR departments, and accuses us of the inexcusable act of anti-Semitism. Not only that, our politicians are signing laws that further confuse the criticism of a government with racism towards a group of people. We are professionals who hold ourselves to a high moral standard. Such an accusation is like a slap in the face. We are professionals who are dedicated to alleviating human suffering, no matter who that person is, where they're from, what they've done, or what they believe in. We are compassionate individuals who are given the opportunity to care for people in their most vulnerable state. We know very well what is needed to care for people in those states. And our profession is dedicated to educating our communities and our patients about what they need to do for their health. As medical professionals, we cannot stand idly by in matters of politics when it directly affects our care and our patients. How then can we be expected to be silent when we are witnessing a mass-scale slaughter of nearly 33,000 civilians, most of whom are women and children, with injuries so severe that our own functioning healthcare system would be burdened in caring for them, let alone a healthcare system that is collapsing from inability to have fuel or electricity while simultaneously being bombed? How should we react as healthcare professionals when we see hospitals, including maternity wards and pediatric hospitals like Al Nasser Hospital, intentionally targeted and systematically dismantled? NICU doctors taken at gunpoint, forced to abandon their patients. I would know their pain very well. A population being intentionally starved. Tell me, especially those of you with a medical background, how can a dehydrated and nutritionally deficient patient heal from a wound as severe as a missing limb? When the lay person looks at a wound like that, they see carnage. But when we look at wounds like that, our minds immediately think of all the things that would need to happen to heal them. My God, the sterile environment we would need, the supplies we would need, the medicines that we would need to heal them being blocked. Sorry. When the layperson hears of white phosphorus, they don't always know what to think. It's something that burns. But we know very well that it not only burns, but it burns so deep and keeps burning unless you're able to get rid of it surgically. In a system that is unsupported, how can they do this? Scaffolds are being stopped in aid trucks from entering because that half-inch blade poses a threat to the IDF who has 2-ton bombs. Shame! How can we be expected to be silent in matters of injustice? I have 3 daughters. I think of 7-year-old Hind, abandoned in that car with her family trying to flee to safety. Sniped down. She's the only survivor, and the paramedics who bravely tried to save her were also perished. I haven't even touched on the psychological trauma of those who are experiencing this tragedy. Professionals in psychiatry are struggling to understand how is it even possible to treat a patient undergoing continuous and unrelenting trauma. And the worst part of all of this is that when we take our professional credentials and come to our politicians to educate them and to speak to them about this matter, to open their minds about how dismantling a healthcare infrastructure is devastating, we are brushed off and met with the same spiel that they've been paid to regurgitate by a lobby whose name I will not take. The Democrats have failed us. President Biden has failed us. Trump is most certainly not going to do us any justice. This is why I support this uncommitted vote. I believe in our collective efforts, and I hope that you all do too. Thank you.
And now for our last speaker, I would like to welcome Ben Snyder, who is a Jewish activist and resident of Rhode Island.
All right. Thank you, Jordan, for giving me a title that I do not deserve. I am not an activist. I am a member of DSA, but I appreciate it. You can't tell from just the general being of me, I am anti-Zionist Jew, and I am going to be reciting the Mourner's Kaddish. I wrote something very brief and quick so we can all get on with the rest of our days. It's quite a nice day out here. All right. Give me a minute. All right. This is what I wrote. With the ongoing occupation and genocide in Palestine, I ask everyone who is on the fence to consider the following. Why are we, as American citizens, being asked to support an incumbent president that is incapable of stopping a genocide when he is the one providing them with the means of genocide? We need to hold Joe Biden accountable and vote uncommitted. If we are truly a democracy and not a hypocrisy, accountability is necessary. The Mourner's Kaddish, which I am about to recite, refers to Israel not as a state, but as a people, the Jewish people. We cannot easily disentangle modern Palestinians and Israelis. We are a part of a shared history. Yikadal v'yikada shemei rabba, ve'oma divrah hirutei ve'amlich mahutei, ve'hayom ve'chayron uvrei dechol beit Yisrael, ve'gala mizrah kariv v'yimru, amen. Ve'hei shema rabba mivarach le'alam v'ayema le'alamaya. V'barach v'yishtabah v'yitpa'ar v'yitram v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yithalel v'yitolal shemei dekudusha barechu minko berata v'shemata tushbahata v'neamata diamran b'yama v'yimru amen. Yehei shama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'imruma, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Thank you. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day.